What's up, Podfiends? Welcome back to the Caffeinds Cast. I am your non-clipping host, WillProduces. With me, as always, is PerkFGC, our clan dad, and our guest today is Queen of the Crucible, my duo fellow Purple Team member, ItsSpaceMoose, aka Moose. Welcome to the show, Moose.
Hello.
It's great to have
That's
you.
Curb.
That's
the picture
Curb.
is Curb,
That
by
your
the
cat.
way.
Oh, that is my cat. The greatest cat. He's actually attacking me right now.
Oh, that's good. He knows he's on a podcast.
Curb's
That's
famous. As is tradition here, let's cheers our caffeinated beverages. And there you go. Here we go.
What are you drinking today? What is
I
that?
have a Thai iced tea today.
Ooh, okay.
Getting
I have a regular iced tea.
I haven't had a Thai iced tea in so long.
What makes a Thai iced tea?
sweetened condensed milk.
Yeah. It's just smooth and like, oh, man. And now I'm literally upset. I literally saw the shade of his Thai iced tea in the cup, and I'm literally upset right now. I might have
orange.
to get
Dude,
I want that.
100% do
want
it. All right,
Very
let's
straight up. Chat tomorrow. We're getting him. It's done.
Hell
It's
yeah.
decided.
So Moose, why don't you introduce yourself to the fam?
Okay, I'm SpaceMoose. I've been playing with this clan since Destiny 1. I think around Taken King,
Yes.
roundabout. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have been playing Destiny since the beta, but I was mostly playing with a group of cacklers beforehand.
Classic.
And then one day, our clanmate Creepery was like, "Hey, I need one more with my group of friends to like run Oryx." And I was like, "I'm pretty sure I can carry the ball." And
That's
so
true.
I joined, and I never left.
That's
So,
right.
Is that the Moose origin story? Ball carrier, slayer of Oryx.
Yeah, it was because
Yeah.
we stumbled upon Crepe, our beloved Flabeetle, found him, and the lore on that is we thought Crepe was a friend of Beetle's, like we knew Beetle for like a long time, and we literally just came back or jumped into chat with him, and we thought it was just one of his friends, so we skipped past like that like friend like new friend from the internet phase, and we were just like super open with him. And I think at that point, like we knew Moose as well, so we just skipped past all of the like, oh, it's a new person. We were just like, oh, and then like years later, we discovered that.
Yeah, because Crepe and I would play a lot all the time, and so I was like in your groups, like in and out, and like eventually you guys just like came to know that if you ever needed an extra for a raid, that I'd just hop in, and I've tried to keep that tradition of always being available.
You have.
But my heart is in the Crucible.
Let's talk. So you are actually, I think, one of our top Crucible players. If we had to rank the Caffeines for like top PvPers, I think it's Moose at the top, and then what would be the top 3 or top 5?
I'd put Lucas up there.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think.
It depends on what elo we're going by.
It
for
does,
game mode.
right? Like it's definitely a game mode specific thing. I like Rumble. Like that was always been my like favorite. Is just playing like free for all. Just because I always felt like either if I was jumping into a team with like blueberries, I'm like they're not gonna do what I need them to do. And if I wasn't able to play with everybody, I would just rather go solo and just work on constantly just having to fight from every different angle. So for me, if I had to pick one mode, I'm taking Rumble for sure.
Hell yeah.
But I'm always in Crucible,
You are, I
Yeah.
know.
and I
Literally
think
always.
if we were just going off of like kills on Emblem, I'm definitely up there.
I think you have the top spot for our clan.
We
I'm
should
like-
do a spreadsheet.
On Emblem.
I'm like
You should.
83 or 8,300 just this season, and I think I'm at like almost 83,000 like total.
that's a nutty amount.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's wild. Before we get going on further, I just realized that I forgot to do my pre-flight checklist. So if I start sounding crackly, please let me know, so I can reset my.
So, and we can give you shit for it because
Yeah,
you literally
100%.
introduced yourself as non-crackling Will.
I said
So,
not clipping.
not clipping.
'Cause I
Whatever.
put-
Same thing. You set a precedent and
Listen,
now you're not meeting it.
Classic
And
Will shooting. This is the equivalent of me jumping off the map in Crucible.
Queen put the top 3 in chat.
Oh, nice, awesome,
Nice.
Oh wow, wait, I'm there.
Top 3.
What?
Sick. Wait, based off Tracker Network KD, Gino's at the top.
Yeah, because he hardly plays, so he goes in,
I know.
he slays out, and then he's done.
It's true.
That's so
He
funny.
goes in, rips it, and he's just like, I'm out of here.
Artificially inflated. I'm gonna need to see some
Fake
clips.
news.
That's crazy. All right.
Yeah, cool. Well, Gino, Moose is coming for you. As is tradition on the show, we ask all of our guests what you're grinding this week. So, Moose, let us know. What have you been doing this week in Destiny?
So, I play a lot of Crucible, and I usually main Hunter, but being the kind of edgy person that I am, I track the win rates of all the classes, and since Dawnblade is on top, I've switched to Dawnblade
Yes.
just to give myself a higher win percentage chance when I'm grinding comp. And so I've been practicing my Dawnblade movement and farming for as low mobility gear possible.
That's right. So actually, let's take a second to talk about that. You mentioned low mobility gear, and I want to go into this a little further later, but since we're on the topic right now of the Top Tree Dawnblade, low mobility gear, why don't you explain, Moose, what the reason is? Because normally, like, the thing is you want high mobility to get around quicker.
Mm-hmm. So most people are under the impression that mobility will just like make you run faster, which is a complete lie in Destiny. The only way you can get that is through different exotics, or if you're holding a weapon that has that trait where you can run faster, like the Might of Mini tool.
Okay.
What mobility does is it increases your strafe speed, which is handy when you're fighting in battles, and it increases your jump height. And that's the big thing. If you're a hunter and you have like horrible in-air game, you want to max your mobility so you can jump over people with shotguns. You can get your, your Dire Promise with Icarus going. But when you're playing Top Tree Dawnblade, the entire class is basically incentivizing you to be in the air anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really need the mobility because you have Warlock jumps.
Right. It's one thing that's always been interesting, and that was the reason I wanted to call attention to that is because in D1, I've always made the Titan. In D1, that was kind of the case too. You wanted, and always been for Warlocks, even with the Titan skating in D1, you want lower mobility because of the way that you're kind of making the most out of the frames of animation of the jumps of the characters and kind of just the geometry in the game to maximize that. So having less of a jump height makes it easier for you to skate, which is super interesting.
Yes, and that's why Warlock is still the only class that can still skate.
Yep. They have the best of everything. They always have.
I think I'll go next on the what I'm grinding because it pertains to this.
Yes, talk to me.
So we played Trials this weekend. Perk, you were coaching me on skating, and so I googled it, and like that's when I was like, oh shit, I need low mobility gear because you're like, yo, we'll just throw mobility on everything. It's gonna help you. And I'm like, okay, let me just slide it around somewhat like your tribute hall and practice like everything. But turns out short hopping is the life, man.
It is. I recommend high mobility in general, just because if you're using Icarus Dash and stuff like that, it is good. And as a Titan, I actually need a lot of mobility. So for you as a Warlock, yes, once you master the skate, 100%. I gave you wrong advice. My bad.
And the extra skate that most people don't know about is if you bind your Warlock jump to your mouse wheel, if you go up any incline and you mouse wheel up or down as your jump binding, you zoom really quick straight ahead.
You're a zoomer.
And that's how people can get across the map, like from the very beginning and shotgun you in the face.
Okay, zoomer.
Okay, zoomer.
Right,
no, it's true. Honestly, it's been insane. So for those of you who don't know my pain, to give you the little bit of a recap, we never really played a crap load of comp or even like PvP in Destiny 2. It was my mainstay in Destiny 1. For Destiny 2, we kind of just got, at least for me personally, got really into PvE stuff, running a bazillion raids, running people through raids, and stuff like that. But recently, I kind of just got I don't know what it is. I got an interest in this Crucible meta. I really wanted to get some trials going, especially over the summer. We've been playing a lot more Destiny in general, so it naturally was kind of just like, all right, like I do want to get some Crucible stuff going. So the three of us actually ran some really good trials cards over the weekend. We've been playing a lot more comp, and since we've been doing that, I decided to grind for Luna's Howl. So currently, that's what I'm working on. I'm doing the last piece that actually requires combat. I think it's 41 more, or no, maybe even like 31 more Crucible kills in survival with a hand cannon. So
It's rough, but it's worth it.
it's a hard time. It's a hard time, dude.
All right,
It's not bad, and you can do it.
I know, I'm close. Like honestly, I've gotten just like I appreciate having our clanmates go with me, knowing that I'm not going to contribute as much as I normally would, because we got into a really, really, really good rhythm. And Rebrand over there in the chat, and Coffee Hazard can attest to it. We got into a great rhythm when I was playing with the weapons that I was like used to, like auto rifles. I have a great summoner, running some snipes and stuff. But now that I'm forced to use hand cannons and get crit kills with hand cannons, it's just led to me playing poorly and needing to thirst for the head kills.
Well, you also chose like one of the hardest seasons to begin going into Crucible with hand cannons in mind.
Yeah, I did. But I mean, like the gun's getting sunset, but I also just want it. Like it's a cool gun. I love hand cannons, and it's just a challenge that I put up for myself. I'm like, all right, we're doing this comp. Like I need something to go. I just need to bite on something that's like attached to it. So I was already in progress on Luna's House.
It's a trophy piece.
For sure.
And you don't even need Not Forgotten, because technically, since their last Crucible balance patch where they nerfed hand cannons and the range of that, Not Forgotten is pretty much equal. Like it's down to like maybe a 2-meter range difference, even though the bar looks big.
It is.
So that extra stability on Luna's, they're equal.
The problem for me is that I really like how Not Forgotten looks.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I think I might end up
I want a
going for
3D printed one, to be honest. Like I've told myself, like I will not buy one until I earn it in game.
Yeah.
So that's a long-term goal for me. Before we go on, we got to talk about our first sponsor for the show today. It's the upcoming Tower Buster film of the summer, Joseph Hunter. He thought he was out of the Guardian game, but then the Hive took his dog. This August, Joseph Hunter is back for revenge. The Hive can run, but they cannot hide. Yeah, he's taking his back. Joseph Hunter is coming to theaters in the Tower this summer. Rated NR for not real. Let's move on to the big discussion of the day. We're going to talk a lot about PvP. This is our PvP episode. Can the Destiny sandbox become truly balanced, or should we have a sliding meta a la Diablo 3, where like things just change season to season? Or like should it be going towards this idealized state of perfect balance? Moose, you're our guest. We'll start with you. Begin.
Well, it'll never be balanced, because it's impossible to balance a loot-based game, and that's just the way it is. And Bungie has explicitly stated that they want to take the game into a more MMO-esque world space. And as someone who's played a good amount of MMOs, combat PvP in MMOs is never balanced, ever.
It's true.
You're always going to fight someone who has better loot or a better gaming chair. You know, It's never going to be balanced. And I think that the way they're doing things with like the rotating additional mods and the gun changes, I don't know how I feel about. Like, I think it's refreshing to have a time where auto rifles are actually usable, but I'd still say only the 600s are. And that's the big problem we're hitting in Destiny Crucible. It's you may have some archetypes in the gun classes that are good, but the others are useless.
I do want to agree on that. Something that I've talked about a lot is Destiny's tick rate, which for those of you unfamiliar, basically to paraphrase it, it's the amount of times that the game kind of sends the data out to the other players to kind of refresh, like it's your feel. A lot of competitive shooters online in this modern era, even in the 2010s onward, has a higher tick rate in order to help the game feel more consistent, let your shots hit where your game client is showing you that they are, and it's overall just makes a better experience for the game. Now, to go along with what you were saying, Moose, I think for me, the auto rifles actually have kind of pulled me back into playing comp and just Crucible in general, just because I think the ease of use and the forgiveness that the 600 RPM archetype offers sort of does compensate for that. You can outduel people, you can feel like you're hitting your shots, you can miss a lot of bullets, especially if you have a larger magazine through mods and perks. And overall, it just feels pretty good. We've coupling that with something like the Revoker that has an insane level of like just aim assist, especially on controllers. But even with a mouse, it just feels just noticeably better than any other sniper. I was kind of crutching on Revoker just because I am normally a W holding crayon eating Titan main. And I like to just kind of just ape and just get aggressive and like get around. Yeah, the W. I like to just do that. That's a bit of my play style because for me, it's felt like the most consistent. But I was trying to get a little bit more strategic, and especially with our trials cards and runs. I was like, we were playing on, I actually forget the name of it in D2, but it was Shores of Time in Destiny 1, the Venus map, which is now the IO map. And for that, you really kind of do need Nessus, sorry. You do need to kind of be observing those snipe lanes and contesting those snipe lanes. You're going to see a lot of teams, and we saw this, a lot of teams that are just using Mountaintop, a lot of teams that are using shotguns, and things like that. But long story short, I wanted to get good with the sniper. And I am the last person that's ever been really good at sniping. I don't feel consistent enough. I never felt like my shots were landing where I wanted them to be. So I said, hell with it. Let me just go in there with Revoker and kind of get the training wheels going. Let me get a feel for the lanes just so that I can kind of understand what I should be laning into. I have a gun that's going to give me rounds back so that I can relane and kind of sight in with where I should be going. And additionally, it's going to be a gun that's got a really good hitbox, so that like Revoker is the ultimate to me training wheels Crucible weapon, which is odd that they made it a Crucible kind of ritual weapon, which is a story for another day. But I was using that, and in doing so, I noticed that like sniping feels really good, especially with the Revoker, and using Gnawing Hunger feels really good. The problem with it, and I think the overall thing that we should talk about, that I'm excited to hear your guys' opinions on, is, well, the Revoker and the Gnawing Hunger both feel great. The Mountaintop, it's kind of a gamble, right? Like people are using it because they've got it, it's going away, you might as well use it. But what ultimately, like what type of meta, let's assume Moose's analogy is going to stick, which is the one side of it, the sliding meta, right? What types of feels and ability to contest a sniper and an auto rifle that both feel great, how would you implement the other weapons and make them feel great? And I have some counterpoints that even to counter my strategy, but I want to hear you guys think first.
Moose, you want to go first? Because I have some ideas.
Well, a large part of it is just map design. I mean, Shores of Time was just a well-constructed map.
Yeah.
And so you can use pretty much everything. Like, you can run into the circle, you can crouch in there with a shotgun, you can pick off some kills as people are running to see, and, you can fight in the cave.
Sure.
B is its own petri dish of fun.
It's mostly me jumping off the map.
The problem is right now there are certain weapon types that are just not used, like scout rifles. Mm-hmm. They don't have a place in the Destiny 2 archetypal map function. There's not enough long sight lines where I would say, this is where I'm going to do primary dueling, when I know someone can just snipe me on that sight line as well.
Agreed.
It doesn't make sense to bring a scout when I want my primary to be something that I can use across the map anywhere, and for it to function well.
Right.
I
And
agree.
that's why you see hand cannons, auto rifles, everywhere.
Mm.
Hand cannons are, more skilled. You
Right.
can do your peak shooting, and they're always going to be great because they do a large chunk of damage in one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's missing from a lot of other things.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like, especially now that I got super used to the meta of the 600 RPM auto rifles using some Suros and Gnawing Hunger and my
Summoner.
my wonderful summoner that we got this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But going transitioning from that and being forced into use hand cannons, it feels a little odd. And this is coming from me where Thorn is one of my favorite guns. So I'm used to the 150 archetype, the RPM. So I love Thorn. I've got a pretty good spare rations. I've got the God Roll Dire Promise. I've got a great Waking Vigil. So I even have the 1050 hand cannons that you kind of want to have. Like, I've got them. I have the rolls that you want.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, for me, it felt like there is such an overwhelming amount of people just spraying and praying with auto rifles that it almost feels like if 110 hand cannons were a little bit stronger or caused more flinch, that they could be something that would really contest these other 600 RPM.
Yeah. And the
auto
range
rifles.
nerf really hurt.
Really,
Hard hitting, slow
really hurt.
weapons.
Yeah.
Especially the hand cannons.
I want to run something by you guys.
Yeah.
This might totally change the conversation. So when I was watching you both play Destiny 1 the other day, I was flashing back to the fact that you guys had to pick up special ammo. Like, you don't spawn with any special. Right. I think besides the fact that the game is much slower, if that was implemented in D2, you would actually have a window for scouts to be useful in addition to whatever buffs they need. Because then you have the long range battles. Like, if you think about how a match, like a round of trials or a round of comp plays out, you just run straight to the sniper lanes, and and just you play that, you get a kill or you don't, and then you collapse on the other teammates, and that's generally how a Destiny round plays out right now.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, though, Destiny 2 technically launched with that in mind.
Yeah,
because it was dual primary.
Yes,
which is another thing I was thinking about today, because someone posted a meme of say something that will get your Destiny card revoked, and they posted I prefer the dual primary system that D2 launched and whatever. I think it was Manigator. Shout out to Manigator. But I think if you implemented the special ammo economy from D1, things would actually kind of get a little bit better. You're forced to use primaries to play around special, and then you're forced to fight on heavy for the round.
Yeah.
So because this is something that I've thought a lot about. Because in D1 Trials, which I played a shitload of, one of the more interesting things was, I believe you started at a certain point. I know that they're kind of going back and forth on this. I believe you started with 3 shots with a sniper in D1 Trials. And if you remember back to D1 Trials, one of the biggest toxic things in it was final round snipers. Mm-hmm. So you would hear from the other side of the map,
bang, bang,
boom, and then you'd be like, okay, it's going to be a body shot. First person that peeks the sniper lane is getting body shot. Like, it's a wrap. That's what we're doing. That's the way that it was. And you couldn't, for whatever reason, they just decided to leave those in for most of its life. I believe they eventually changed the final round to where it was just you needed to crit to be able to do it. But still, at that point, the damage was done. Between that and self-resing warlocks, it was kind of insane. But the other thing that I was talking about was, what if you didn't have heavy in trials? What if instead of the third, whatever the third round was, or going to the fourth round, because heavy spawns in the fourth round, what if instead of that you had special either in the middle, or more interestingly, because my problem with putting special on the map, just to recover that real quick, is you're eventually just going to make it where it's slightly less important but more common occurrences of the rapid push to get heavy ammo on trials the way that it exists now. That round is always just a mess that is centered around the purple crate spawning on the wall. You're going to have something slightly less like egregious but still as more common if you put green crates around. Teams are going to just literally just sit there and try to control them. Granted, you'll be laning and trying to control them with primaries. However, if you're the team that gets more special first, you're going to glom that special ammo, and you're going to try to deny that special ammo from the opposing team, because why wouldn't you? When you can, exactly what we were talking about earlier, what Moose was saying. If you can, the reason that scout rifles aren't good is because if you can contest a lane with scout rifles range, you're better off just contesting it with a sniper that just needs one shot.
Right, but what, like,
my thought, give me a second. My thought on special being on the map is, instead of putting it on one spot or spots in the middle of the map, have them spawn every other round and literally make it so that whoever opens the crate gets the special, so that literally one team member becomes your special user.
Yeah.
If you've got a sniper, you have one member of your fire team that is like the sniper specialist. You know what I mean? So you're like, if the three of us were playing, I would be like, Moose, you're better with the sniper. You're better with the shotgun or the mountaintop. For this map, the way that we're loading this one out, you're going to be our special user. And it's going to be your job to kind of get that first pick or that first big body shot and let us kind of do the rest, do the collapsing. I think if you did something like that, or introduced something to that degree where you're kind of forcing you to be a little bit more thought-provoked and more cerebral with your strategy, that you would just instantly make trials more interesting. It would just become even more of a different game mode than it is and existing from the other side of Crucible. But you'd also be mixing in those elements like the special ammo crates that you were talking about in D1. But to me, it just make it more dynamic, because instead of having to worry about 3 mountaintops or 3 revokers, you're worrying about 1. And how that combination takes place and how you would go about getting the other person down, it would be maybe more impactful, but also less simultaneously, based on the map and your other teammates' loadouts. I think it would just make everything more important, and I think ultimately that would make trials better.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page with you. I think that it also, like, it comes close to this idea from Halo, like the original Halos, where there's power weapons on the map.
Yes.
There's only one of them or 2 or whatever, for depending on the weapon, and you're playing around those weapons on timers, and locking down different areas based off that resource, and then it's up to you to use that resource to get more points. And I think that special ammo may be spawning in multiple places on the map at the same time, and it is like locked down to one person. That's a great idea. Like, off the rip, great idea.
I think it would be fun, because then you exactly bring it, like what you're saying, like with Halo, you're bringing in more of that, like, hey, like when you're playing duos in Halo, you're like, hey, my buddy's better with the sniper here. Take the sniper. Like, you're gonna do better with it. Like, I'm gonna go in guns blazing. You do the precision and kind of get those crit targets down. I think it would be fun.
I think my idea is actually counter to that.
Okay.
So, a lot of the games appeal, and I think it's easy to view this through the lens of trials, but trials is inaccessible to most people, because these kind of game systems changes affect the entire Crucible sandbox.
They do.
Well, if I'm thinking of like the casual player who wants to just jump into control and play, this is the situation then that you get. I just got a cool new shotgun, and now I'm having to play multiple rounds just trying to get a special box to even use it and see how it performs in Crucible.
Well, yeah,
so
that was
my change is not to put the ammo on the map. It's to remove stacking scavenger perks and lower the cooldown of the ammo sitting on the map. Because right now, when you snipe someone, that special brick that drops can land there for like 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's there for a while.
Put it there for like 4 seconds. If someone's rushing with a shotgun and they kill someone, and they pick up the ammo, they took the risk. They get the reward of getting the special ammo from the dead person. If I snipe someone from across the map, I should have to expose my position and rush to risk getting more ammo.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think that would work well. I mean, I honestly, I think that could work for both. I feel like we can have an ammo economy in trials the way that I kind of outlined it, and still simultaneously, do what you're saying with that. I think that would be really good. My thing is, would it be, how would you handle it where only you get the special ammo, like the crate only spawns for you, or would you have it spawn where if you kill it and I'm rushing with a shotgun, I can
I
grab
think,
it?
I mean, they would do it the way, so like when we were playing D1 the other day, there were like 4 special crates that all popped at the same time. It gave equal access to everyone on the map to be able to grab it.
Yes.
Scavenger perks didn't exist.
They didn't.
So if you lost and you died, it was gone. And then you were starting again. I don't want to go back to the double primary meta. That's what caused people to leave the game.
I agree. I don't think the double primary meta was good. It was interesting, and I think it made a lot of other weapon archetypes more usable. Like take sidearms, for example. Sidearms were the one of the things that we did. That was like our first exposure to a double primary meta in D1. So they brought in sidearms.
And sidearms were a big deal.
They were there, but sidearms were like quite good. Their aim assist was crazy high. They're one of the only weapons still that come built in with in-air accuracy, where you don't get the debuff. And honestly, in-air accuracy is something that I could talk hours for, because I don't think it should have ever been removed. So I think it was removed towards the end of D1. I think you should just have like the Icarus mod. Like the debuff shouldn't be like, what is it, like 30%? The debuff should only be like,
and some of the there are some archetypes in the game now that have like an intrinsic bonus.
yes.
But the problem is they're on the archetypes that don't work.
Yeah.
If a 150 hand cannon is the best hand cannon because we have all seen the stat crunch charts of like optimal time to kill. There's no reason for anyone to bring in like a 140 compared to a 150.
Yeah, that's the hard thing for hand cannons, especially, is how do you make, and this is going to be really interesting when they bring in Hawkmoon, and I'm really eager to see what archetype Hawkmoon is going to eventually end up being. So like right now, the only 140 that's actually worth loading up is Ace of Spades, because with Memento Mori procced, I think it does kill in almost the same speed, or maybe a little bit faster than like a 1050 or a 150 rather. But that's like with an exotic perk procced. That's not even. So you have to have an exotic slot taken up and have already gotten a kill to then get it on par with a legendary that has that time to kill. Granted, Ace of Spades is great. It's got Third Eye built into it. It's a really good feeling gun. And it's got true Firefly. It doesn't have Dragonfly. It has actual Firefly. But the thing with that is, how do you balance? Like what do you then do for the 110 hand cannons? I remember in early in D1, my first legendary hand cannon was Timur's Lash. It was the original Iron Banner hand cannon, and I got a perfect roll in that thing, and I loved it. It was one of my favorites. It wasn't as competitive as Last Word or Hawkmoon or Thorn, but it was just, if I was using another exotic for something else, it was just a damn fun gun to duel people in Crucible.
Primaries also deal more damage in D1 compared to D2. If you take a hand cannon and pop a headshot in both of the same weapon archetype, the D1 gun will do more damage. At a certain point, they lowered the damage on primaries to make gunfights last longer. Yeah. And I think that was a bad move overall.
Well, how does that play out with the fact that just D2 is a faster game? Like, movement-wise.
The movement, yes. And that's it all comes down to map balance. And if you're going to have these like off-meta guns, they should either have perks that only drop in their perk pool to make them sought after, or their stats should be vastly different from others in the archetypes. The 110s used to have ginormous range. And
They did.
so people would sometimes duel successfully with Duke.
I used to.
I used to do
love
that.
the Duke. Duke's one of my favorites. I had like
You
6
it's
of them
not
on the wall.
usable now because the ranges on all hand cannons got compressed.
Yeah,
Duke
I
Fighting
think
Lion was great.
I think honestly, I love the Fighting Lion. I loved Fighting Lion when everyone thought it was trash before it even got buffed. I love that stupid gun. The interesting thing for me with the hand cannon meta and the way that they're structured and the 110s versus 140s and 150s. Moose, you bring up a good point. What if instead of damage increase buffs, right? Which is something I'm trying to remember back to D1 if there were any damage increase buffs that would be active on hand cannons. I don't really think there were. There was explosive
many.
rounds. There was high caliber rounds, but Rampage didn't exist. Kill Clip didn't exist. All of that stuff that we kind of is our like obvious. You want a damaged swashbuckler. All of those perks that changed the kind of the landscape in Destiny 2. Which, to be honest, like kind of going back to what you're saying, like yes, the D1 weapons did more damage. In D2, I think maybe their logic with adding Kill Clip and Rampage and stuff like that was to maybe get it where, like, okay, you can get them on the same caliber that they were on in Destiny 1, but you needed to do some work to get them there. Like get a kill proc to win your first duel with it, and then kind of go on a rampage. I think realistically, if they just nullified the damage increase perks from the loot pool, and they just brought up the math like a little tiny bit on hand cannons, I think all of them then become way more interesting and way more competitive. Increase the range of the 110s, increase the stability of the the 180s even. Like those are borderline obsolete in Crucible.
Yeah. Like when was the last time you got killed by someone with a viced auto rifle? Like those 720 bullet hoses that you can't control, but only tickle you for like 12 damage.
No, I haven't been killed by one of those in any relevant time space. And I think honestly, it's a little bit part of. I mean, because you think about it, D1 or D2 launched without random rolls. They didn't intend to put weapons out there with their archetypes that were going to be compatible, like able to be like murderers, like having outlaw kill clip on them. That would have been something that would have probably been like a pinnacle weapon. Realistically, like that would have been the one. But I think also it's better for them to have not done that. And I think in a random perk pool, you don't really even want to have damage increases. I think the newer stuff like Killing Wind and things like that are much better for the game's health as a whole.
I think that if you're going to get into like crazy damage perks and stuff like that, they should be tied to interesting exotics. Like Heir Apparent for me, even though I don't have it because I refuse to do the quest.
Yep.
You can't get it now.
It's fine.
I know, trust me. I don't care. It is a very cool exotic. Like when someone pulls heavy in comp and spins up that shield, they're unkillable.
Yeah.
Unless you have an arc damage source.
Yeah.
If you tap them with even one single bullet of arc damage, they explode.
Yeah.
And it can kill their entire team if they're standing next to them. Like that's the kind of unique thing that the game needs.
I agree. I definitely agree. In my dream Crucible scenario, things like the damage increase and stuff would be like the Howl of the Wolves or whatever the perk that's on Luna's Howl. I wouldn't let Rampage roll on a Duke where it can 2-tap. Sure, it's fun as shit to 2-tap, but you can kit out weapons like that in that archetype with things that feel almost as good without the cheat code of 2-tapping, right? You can make them ranged monsters. You can make them super stable. You can make it where you can have an increase in movement when you've gotten a kill off it. There's a lot of room to work with on legendary weapons.
Right. And I think those pseudo pinnacles are exactly where you should see those kind of perks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that Lunas and Not Forgotten right now are neutered completely
Yeah.
and are basically equal to any other 150 hand cannon
Yes.
is a travesty in my book.
It 100% is.
Especially because they're not even competitive.
Yeah, I'm grinding for it, but it's like you said, it's a trophy gun for me at this point.
Like,
It's not even like
the original feeling with Lunas to be able to 3-tap someone and then turn and 2-tap someone gave really exciting plays
Yes.
that people loved. But the fact that it was gated behind comp
Long quest and comp.
and a quest
Yeah.
made so the vocal majority angry enough that they had to nerf it.
Yeah. Which
And it feels bad.
So, not to, I want to come back to this Luna's not forgotten discussion, but I pulled up a list of D1 weapon perks because I was very
just
very
looking at that.
intrigued on whether or not there were damage perks.
yeah. What do you got?
Reactive reload. Reloading after a kill increases damage by 33% for 3 seconds.
3 seconds though. That's short.
That is really short.
That was a pseudo kill clip.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is the only one I can find right now. To be honest, I haven't gotten past ours.
I remember reactive reload. Okay.
The other things are like luck in the chamber, which
Yeah. And they've even said on Hawkmoon there's not going to be luck in the chamber.
And luck in the chamber, final round.
Final round is interesting. Thorn had final round. Do you guys remember when Thorn was a 6-shot? Nobody remembers that. Like that's version 1 of Thorn. It was a 6-shot hand cannon and it had final round on it. They left final round on it forever. They didn't remove it or anything. It didn't proc anywhere.
Oh, it had six shots in the chamber, and not like it took six shots to kill someone. I was like, that never happened.
Yeah.
6 in the chamber, which made final round perk proc like often. It was interesting. I remember using that. I fell in love with it.
It's just like things, and I guess the Destiny 1 perk pool reeks of being console only.
Yes,
it
does.
Yep.
Yes, it does.
Like, I loved Hidden Hand. But nowadays, it wouldn't be useful for the majority of mouse and keyboard users.
No, targeting.
Even though I'm on sticks, and I would love it.
Yeah. That's kind of what targeting adjuster became. It kind of became like a baby version of Hidden Hand. And, with it being a little bit more transparent, which for whatever reason Bungie just did not.
Headseeker. Headseeker originally was a damage boost.
Headseeker still is, isn't it? Crits, body shots that go before the crit increase the crit.
In the burst.
I was using in one of our garden runs. I got myself a Sacred Providence that has handling masterwork, maxed out range stats, rapid hit, and what did I just say? What were you just saying? It has rapid hit Headseeker. Rapid hit Headseeker. That thing is a laser, and I've been 2-tapping people across the map with it. Like if I can get the drop and I don't fight against someone that has an absurd gnawing hunger, I'm just lasering them with it. So it's interesting to say the least. I think Headseeker's a great perk for pulse rifles, but I also think it's something that doesn't make it the only obvious choice for pulse rifles.
Yep.
I think there's some wiggle room, especially depending on the archetype. You actually don't even care about Headseeker or want it. On those fast firing archetypes, you want something that's stable and you want something like rapid hit. So pulse rifles, I actually feel are in. If auto rifles weren't so good, or those 1050 hand cannons weren't also so good, I think pulse rifles would rule the roost. I think.
Do you think
Redrix is really good right now, guys? I know what you're talking about.
Do you think Bungie will ever, at any point, decide to balance the game separate from console and PC?
Doubt.
Because the console meta is, even now, very different from PC meta.
We don't even have like PvP really being balanced separately from PvE.
We don't even know who the lead on Crucible is now at Bungie.
That's true. So that's true. I think my 2 cents on this, going back to the Luna's discussion, as a StarCraft nerd, I'm a big fan of something called asymmetrical balance. So there's something really broken about Zerg, and there's something really broken about Terran, and there's something really broken about Protoss, all in good and bad ways. They're all like strong and weak in different ways. They complement each other in a sandbox. Like I look at Brood War, like that game was not balanced, like race to race to race, but there were different units and techniques that were able to be used at this high level that like the ending years of Brood War, and I know it's kind of got a resurgence. You had basically the four gods. There were two Protoss, one Zerg, and one Terran player. The tip top of the scene in StarCraft. For PvP, I would love to see that across the weapon archetypes. Like if there was a way to like target like a handful of guns in each archetype that say like this gun is going to be broken in this way. This gun's have crazy fucking range. This gun's like in air accuracy is going to be like 100%, or this gun's reload speed is broken. It would be up to the benefit of the game. Like the way Luna's and Not Forgotten were, if there were more guns across the field of like how you obtain them, across the field of archetypes that were also broken, then it creates a lot more choice for the players as opposed to like, I guess I have to get Lunas, or I guess I have to get spare rations, or I guess I have to get Revoker. So I think if anything, more things should be broken. Like more things should be really good.
I completely agree.
I do too. I think that brings in a good idea of, like what do you do? Like how do you break them and make them fun and interesting and not absurd and not unable to be countered, right? There was always in D1, hand cannons were oppressive, straight up, and that's just because you were going to miss more shots because everyone was on controller. The guns themselves, we were playing at 30 FPS. We were playing with a very zoomed in field of view, and you were going to miss some shots. So it was either play from really far back with scout rifles or snipers, or get into that middle range with auto rifles, shotguns, and hand cannons. And hand cannons are really awesome because they're the size of someone's like thigh. Like realistically, if you look at them compared to your Guardian, they're huge. And they're just cool ass guns. Like they're one of the they're one of the most identifiable things in Destiny is the hand cannon. Now, I think I agree, because if you go back to Fatebringer in D1, Fatebringer was the busted PvE hand cannon. Hawkmoon, Last Word, Thorn, they were busted PvP hand cannons. I wish there was a little bit more weapon variation that could contest with them at the time when they were first out, because it took until like the Messenger and like the Red Death were out that you really had things that were worth fighting against hand cannons with, and you could outrange them. But I think that was kind of the beauty of it. And for a while there in Destiny 1, you had those three hand cannons, even after some slight nerfs. You had sidearms, snipers, shotguns, and even to an extent, auto rifles a little bit. Auto rifles ruled the roost in D1 first shot out. Between the Vex Mythoclast and the Suros, they were just god tier. But that like Taken King era PvP was really good. Like it was really good. Fusion rifles have always been like this weird outlier that I liked at first. That was one of the first things that I tried in Destiny. Went back in the alpha or the beta whenever fusion rifles showed up. I was like, oh cool, like a middle range special weapon. But they like always felt weird, and I feel like they never really hit their mark.
Yeah, in a world where shotguns exist, it's hard to justify fusion rifles.
Yeah, you want them to be this like middle ground, like this not long range, not super close, but I can kind of strafe you and kind of use it in the same way that you use maybe a what was the thing from maybe like a needler almost. Honestly, we need a needler a little bit. I know that you're the close thing to it. But.
The difference between D1 fusions and D2 fusions is D1 fusions were hit scan.
Were they really?
Yeah, that's why you could snipe people with Plan C.
I did not know that they were hit scan and they were changed. That's interesting.
Also, I would argue that D2 fits the fusion rifle a lot better than D1 just because the maps are kind of like literally scaled up and bigger. Like, there is more of a difference in range than like compared to a shotgun and a sniper for it to fill. That's why, Aerentil and Bastion are actually still viable.
Bastion slaps. Every once in a while, I just get fucking just annihilated by a Bastion. I'm like, what just happened here? What just occurred? And I'm
It's
like,
got
oh,
that
right,
that
Bastion.
beautiful
Cool.
sound. Yeah. Pew, pew, pew.
It's really cool. I like that thing. I like that thing a lot. Very, very interesting. So
I think that wraps up our balance talk. Let's move
One
on
thing
to
I will say
Go ahead.
that we didn't touch on is D1 abilities were a lot stronger
Yeah.
than D2.
Ironically,
Grenades for one-shot kill.
I miss sticking people, but at the same time, last time I played Crucible, it might have been with you guys. No, it was IB. I was with Peter. I got stuck with 2 magnetic nades immediately off spawn both times, and there's this build that you can use. I think it's like the chest piece of Inmost Light now. Where you get empowered off of using your barricade, so you can still kill like one-shot people with magnetic nades.
Yeah.
You just got to use your wall.
You throw up your barrier and it charges your ability, and then you throw the grenade and it'll become a one-hit.
Yeah.
Because the magnetic grenade explodes twice.
And
okay.
off spawn, 2 lives in a row, this guy one-shot me with magnetic nades. I was like, wow, this is broken. I love it. I remember doing it for trials last season, but holy fuck, man, like I do not miss getting one hit by nades.
I miss it, but I played Sunsinger in D1, so
Sure.
You guys
Same.
remember the arc bolts and the lucky raspberries?
Touch of flame though in D1.
You get an
Touch
extra
of
solar
flame
bolt.
was just gross. You would do it with fastball on your gloves. And it was the what was it, the firebolt grenades?
Yeah, firebolt with touch of flame.
You literally just throw that on a fire.
Hang them once, and then they would burn out, and you'd run away.
You literally just like do that when you see the tick numbers. You all just collapse in because even if you die putting shots on them, most of your fire team would just live, and you would just win the round from it.
We should probably start a second podcast of like, hey, remember back in D1?
I want to play more
podcast?
D1.
Well, we're gonna let Moose
compared
stream some
content.
D1 on the channel. Look for it soon. Let's go on to our second question though. What can be added to the PvP experience to make it more fulfilling? Who wants to go first on this one? I think let's go. Perk, you go first.
You want to go with me? What could be added to it? Realistically, I have been kind of singing this song for a little while now. And honestly, I think a new weapon rarity would make things more interesting especially in the Crucible. I think we've long talked about how legendaries aren't really legendary or rare or anything like that. Exotics have kind of carved out their own niche, but sometimes aren't really extraordinary. I was looking to maybe have something that would be the equivalent of a set bonus from other MMOs. Meaning, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, in most MMOs that you'll find, when you do a difficult activity or something, you get drops of gear. And for some activities, they have their own sets of armor that when you wear, 2 pieces or 3 pieces or up to 5 or whatever the requirement is, pieces of this armor, you tick off like a list, and that list will activate different other perks for you. My thought was, instead of making it full armor sets, and you could do full armor sets, and we've talked about that like actually at length. But
so rest in peace, the dream as of today, right?
Yeah, I know. Instead of doing that, have a different rarity, like orange or something like that. That's past exotic. Call them something like, relics of the golden age or something, in lore like that. And in doing so, give those pieces of armor and I would make it armor only. I would interestingly enough, I know we talked a lot about weapons. I would make this only for armor, and I'd make it where it's not just something that added like a perk node of a subclass from Destiny 1 or something like that. I would give it something that would actually change the way that you play. So, for example, I recently learned that Top Tree Dawnblade not only has tracking fireballs, has good grenades, but they can also consume the grenade. to do the heat rises, where you get to fly and get like no debuff or almost no debuff to your in-air accuracy. So you could just like get up higher than any sightline that it would ever think that you're in and just get free snipes on it. Something to that effect I would load in on like a new type of rarity for armor. And I think it would be something that you'd want to change the pace and the way that the Crucible would work. And just make it interesting. And you can kind of go in a lot of different directions. My thought kind of resonates to some of the exotics from Destiny 1 that really did do these things. Things like the Void Fang vestments, where not only did you always spawn with a grenade, but it made those trackers like really hunt your opponent down.
Oh, those were amazing.
I love that chest piece.
They were insane. I would just have more, exotic plus to call them.
I think we just need more exotic armor.
We do need more exotic armor, honestly. But I would just, we could do that. But I'm thinking of it in this case where it seems like Bungie really wants to kind of curtail the amount of exotics that they're putting out there. And I mean, that's disappointing to me, but it's fine. Like, I understand that like it takes a lot to create those assets and to do that stuff. But I'd really like to quest for something meaningful that makes my subclass really feel different and really just behave a little differently. That's all.
Yeah.
My big thing, I wish that there was a general Crucible title to chase. Like, right now we have, Unbroken, right?
Right.
I think that, like, there should be a Wayfair-esque achievement for Crucible to kind of incentivize people to go in and do things with different playstyles. Like, get this many kills with each gun archetype. All those triumphs already exist. Like, get all the different kinds of Crucible medals, and have, like, maybe one or two that are really hard to get. Like, maybe earn, like, 10 gold medals, and that emblem being required to get the title. And just have small things like that can go a long way.
Follow-up question.
The community.
What would you call that title?
That's a good question. I'll have to think on that.
Shax's Broken Horn.
Rebroken.
Rebroken. You could make it Red Jack if you wanted to.
Yeah,
Dan says Warlord.
Warlord has Iron Banner connotation, though.
But you would have to do Iron Banner to get it, probably.
On top of that,
well, I would want Iron Banner to have their own title.
Oh, yeah.
Young Wolf.
Young Wolfie.
Okay, so
what if the Iron Banner title is furry?
Do you remember the Iron Burden that they attempted?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was really fun. But the Crucible community is really fickle.
They are.
And they're going to complain about everything no matter what happens. And I think Bungie needs to, tell us who's in charge of Crucible.
Yeah.
Give us someone to yell at.
Yeah, give us someone to yell at. But then don't listen to us. Don't listen to us.
Yeah.
As a community overall.
Someone that's a sponge that we can just tweet at, and that can just be like, yeah, okay, cool. All right, nerds, here's your sandbox changes.
It's nice.
Actually do something that takes it in a direction.
We need a roadmap for the Crucible just as much as we need a roadmap for PvE.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
There's no reason why Destiny 2 should not have just as much of a robust custom games mode as Halo.
Yep.
Map viewers. Match replays.
Yep.
And game mode
Observer mode.
Yep. I want kill cams. I want fully customizable maps. I want customizable modes. Yeah, I want kill cams.
Unnecessary.
My only hope for it is that, so they did say that Destiny 2 on the new consoles is going to be 60 FPS.
They did.
4K compatible. And I can only hope that not only means goodbye to 30 FPS cutscenes for us people on PC, but also that they're going to be able to have more robust features.
Let's hope.
I think we're actually going to see, this is something that I kind of have been talking about, and maybe it's wishful thinking, but you've got to look at it as from a business standpoint. That's my thing with anything is wherever you go, you follow the money, right? So what is the incentive for Bungie to make a Crucible, a PvP pipeline, and to do that? Well, tournaments.
Streamers.
Streamers and tournaments. Trials was a magic event in D1 that really brought it brought streamers that you would have never otherwise known that really don't raid into the limelight. On the weekends, you're looking for trials cards. Everyone was always looking to bring people through. Like there was a big community that rose up around trials. And people eventually obviously joined clans and did a lot more than just played trials together with it, right? But two, I think your opportunity is things like we see with like G Fuel, like weekend events, especially during these times with coronavirus and the pandemic. Online tournaments, things that you can get sponsorships for, things that are fun. The thing with Destiny, and the reason why everyone keeps going back to it, is despite a lot of stupid stuff about the Crucible, low tick rate, things being unbalanced, it doesn't matter. Oh, it's just fun. Like, it's enjoyable to play as your Guardian in a customized world where, you know, grinding for things, playing Gambit, raiding and stuff, and then taking it into Crucible. It's all part of it. It's a big part of the thing. Grinding at the mountaintop and then going and having that awesome experience in raids with your new gun. Like, the best thing about Destiny is that the hands kind of feed each other. Like they work in concert together. And I think PvP is a big part of that. And I think they have a lot of like financial opportunity.
Yeah, here's the basic, you know, 2 hands required math that Bungie doesn't seem to get. What fuels this game? Production. Microtransactions through the Eververse, right? Shaders, emotes. When you're patrolling, how many Guardians do you run into? 2 or 3, right? How many Guardians do you run into outside of yourself every Crucible match? 11.
Yeah.
That's 11 opportunities for someone to look at you and go, I want that. That could be a potential sale. They should be pushing Crucible.
I think they should. When I see someone with the Trials ornaments, I'm like, okay, flex. I feel you. Like, guys, I see that.
You're giving me life. I want to skip my answer, which would have been automated tournaments or making comp rank mean something. We could talk about that later. I had a bonus question, which was talking about how in MMOs and how the reason why I classify Destiny as an MMO, the PvP scene and the esports scene is always like 1 to 5% of the player base at maximum. And then you have these PvE players that will bitch about anything that PvP gets all the time, 100% of the time. You see it in WoW. I saw it in Guild Wars. It was the reason why, as a Guild Wars tournament organizer, I could not post a single thread about PvP on r/Guild Wars 2. It was literally not allowed because the mods were like, fuck this, fuck PvP.
No, that was true.
Destiny's pedigree as a Bungie game that shares DNA with Halo, makes it unique, and also makes Crucible this integral part of the game. That it's fucking beautiful. It is literally an MMO for competitive people. Yeah, and I just want to talk about just like the fact that we like. PvP Crucible needs to be pushed more because of that. Like, Moose, you fucking blew my mind with that math. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's basic math.
Yeah, it's basic. It's easy. It's free real estate, right?
So the actual question was, which level of hell are PvE players that bitch about PvP going to?
Probably the level where all the mayo, ranch dressing, and all of that is capped.
Yeah. Oh, no.
The triad of evil.
The triad of evil condiments.
That's a very base level.
That was insane.
Yeah, I meant to pull it.
I completely agree. I think there is absolutely. I mean, like, here's a full disclosure. When we were kind of thinking that there was rumors of Destiny 3, I kind of held back on buying ornaments and stuff like that because I'm like, I'd rather just wait and drop some of that extra cash in Destiny 3, you know, ornaments and cosmetics that I'll get to have a little bit longer. But when they were like, hey, by the way, Destiny 2 is still not done, and it seems like we might be just in Destiny 2 for a while.
At least another 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, was it 2 or 3?
Yeah, at least.
You know, so it's looking like maybe they're just going to morph the game back into just Destiny and kind of carry on from there, which makes my title grind feel more valuable. It makes the money that I would spend on cosmetics feel more warranted. Just honestly, like a lot more value in spending money on cosmetics and things that I just would want to collect and have in the game. And Moose, you're 100% right. I think just I love what to do with trials where they show what exotics in the emote that your other team is wearing, because they realized it was a thing that they looked at for everyone was like peeking at the other team when you were loading in, when you're flying in.
Right.
You'd go and you do some recon. They're like, fuck it, here, have it.
And like the fact that we now have like the trials extension on Twitch is like a move in the right direction, but they need to push it in game as much as possible.
I agree.
I will say I think PvE players finally this past year got a dose of what us PvP main players go through, because PvE players have gone an entire year without a raid.
Get wrecked. Sorry. So like, let's look at how other games push people towards the competitive scene. Like Call of Duty is such a huge fucking game, but you know CDL, CWL took years to get in the game, and then I think it was like the World War II season where you could finally watch in Call of Duty CWL shows where you were getting drops for watching the shows. CS:GO does that. You watch a tournament, you can do fucking pick'ems with the with in-game microtransactions that are the logos of the teams that are playing in there. You can get the signatures, stickers for your guns, and they just increase the value of your skins. Like WoW does this in the Battle.net client. They embed the Twitch stream so you can see it before you log in. And they finally, I know that there was a shit ton of controversy over this, but they finally introduced microtransactions for esports items in World of Warcraft. These are things that Bungie needs to capitalize on. Ironically, a lot of it's pushed by Activision, who they just broke from. But like, there are ways of assuring that Destiny continues into the future, even though we don't have an esports scene. It's a Bungie title. You release the tools, it's going to be there.
They got rid of their esports scene. Yeah, Destiny 1 actually had a tournament scene, and at the beginning of Destiny 2, they tried to do sweats.
They still try to.
Like, they still try.
Kim.com, the guy who made Mega Video, which is now like Mega NZ, was throwing out thousands of dollars for like Destiny tournaments because he liked Destiny 2. Yeah, and Destiny 1.
Because the gunplay is top class. It's a Bungie game.
It is. It's second to none, and I am for the reference. I'm a big fan of Warzone, Call of Duty Warzone. Never really loved Call of Duty past Modern Warfare 1, but when Warzone came out, I was like, "This is awesome." I love the idea of battle royale. I didn't really click with any of the ones that had come out until like Apex. I liked Apex, but I didn't like modding out the guns. We've talked about this. I love the way that Warzone does it. I love the concept of Warzone, parachuting down. It's great game.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Technically, when you buy your microtransaction skin from the Call of Duty store, you're buying a set of perks on the gun.
Yep.
That kind of thing already exists via random rolls in Destiny.
Yep.
There's no excuse for them not to monetize the crap out of the looks in Destiny 2. I know we already have armor cosmetics and such, but I just don't understand why they're not pushing for more in-game rewards for competitive activities.
Also, I was going to say this. I also don't understand why they don't do what they used to do with Halo, which was let people create maps, upload them, and download them. Like, that was such a cool community-based thing before online communities got big. This is before Discord, before before Reddit was popular. Like, they just had you doing this stuff.
Shaq's Ball.
And this will strike home for you, Perk, as well. But missing out on those core tools that we think of when we think of a Bungie game means that we also lost the machinima scene.
We did. It made it really hard. As 4 of you may know, I won Bungie the Movie of the Week back in October, and we do some machinima stuff, and you're going to see some more of it actually. But with that, it's actually really, really, really difficult to make machinima in Destiny, where it was much easier to do in Halo. And maybe that was a thing that they had to leave out because of Activision, and maybe it's something that's there. It's one of those things where they're not going to go out of their way to just add it. I don't think, unless they have a way or a future or a pipeline.
Now that we
kind of just,
now that we know that Destiny 2 is lasting, right?
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be a Crucible pipeline of them going back to what makes a Bungie game. There's no reason why old Halo titles should have more options than a current gen game.
Yes,
I agree. Fully agree.
If the devs can't see that, then they're leaving money on the table.
To quote the Halo scene, let's get rid of Bloom and Sprint. All right, guys.
Bloom and Sprint gone. Summer 2020.
No. I was just thinking, just total aside. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Bonnie Burton. Is on the Bungie team for Destiny. She's a former MLG pro.
Oh, really?
Wasn't she the head of like 343 for a while, or not the head? But wasn't she? She worked for 343 for.
Am I thinking of the wrong person?
You might. I don't know.
To Google.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of the entirely wrong person. Who am I thinking of? There's one of the first female MLG pros, and I feel like an idiot for saying this now.
No, you're fine.
Great.
Just
job,
look it up and correct it. I just want to make this point too, is that with the Crucible, you're gonna have it's a twofold thing, right? There's players like us that do both.
No, it is Bonnie Burton. It's a different Bonnie Burton. She went by Xena.
Oh, really?
She was she placed like 5th in 2004. She works on Destiny now.
Cool. All right.
Allegedly.
Oh yeah.
I was not wrong.
Good. But I want to get to this point though. Like, we're probably not all that uncommon in that we go hard on PvE, and whenever we have a team to really get consistent with, we'll go hard on PvP as well. Because we all play like Warzone and a lot of other PvP games. So it's not that we don't like doing PvP for most of us. It's honestly just the controlled experiment type of thing going, well, I want to just play and get synergy with the same people over and over again, the same way the 3 of us did with Trials, and it was a great time. I imagine there's a lot of other clans and groups out there that want to do that, but they lack an incentive to really do it. It's really interesting to me that the Solstice armor this season requires 7 Trials wins, as does the Moments of Triumph.
And I don't think it's retroactive either.
It's probably not, and I think there's a reason for it. I think they want to get more people into the Crucible. But you know what? Unfortunately, is going to be the case that you're going to see a lot more carries to help people just get 7 wins total.
Which brings me to my next point. For a Crucible roadmap, we need hard data on when we're getting an anti-cheat.
Yes, we do.
And hard punishment for people doing carries.
Not
recovs.
Recovs, yeah.
And I know people who do recovs just for friends,
right,
and such. But at a certain point, when I can go to a website and pay $400 for a gun, there's a problem.
Yeah.
You've kind of broken the system. I think the Trials emblem or the title requires a carry actually to the Lighthouse, which I think is really cool. Yeah, I'm against the whole recov thing. I also don't know that there will ever be a way for that to not be something that
I don't
happens.
think so. No, they'd have to convince Steam to really crack down.
What I think
that was actually one of the things about BattleNet that they could easily do.
I think there's an easy way around it.
Yeah.
Though. I have an idea for that. Ready for this?
Yeah.
Placement games. If you did maybe 10 placement games, you would massively cut down on the recovs. They'll still be there. They're always going to be there. Let's just call that out. But let's say you had to do 10 or 20 even placement games that were preliminaries. So in a similar situation where they did with comp, where your glory points kind of have the first floor of glory is 2100. You gain points really quickly, you lose them very slowly up to 2100, and then it becomes difficult. Then it becomes kind of a slide back and forth.
Here's a hot take idea that I think would get a lot of pushback.
Okay.
And it's the cheating that we are seeing right now in Destiny 2.
Mm-hmm.
It has a few common threads. It's open up the Steam profile, see that it's level 1 on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
With no other games owned, newly created.
Mm-hmm.
The account is just running hacking, all blue items, whatever.
Right.
And the easy way to fix it, if they don't want to put competitive and trials behind a paywall, which they've explicitly said they don't want to do.
Right.
Here's my idea, which would get some pushback. Force the accounts to play 200 games of quick play before you can go into comp. Across the board. Here's the benefits. 1, you don't get blueberries loading in who don't know how to play the game, who just logged into the competitive playlist randomly.
Right.
You'll have an more even playing field of skill levels right from the beginning. You'll know that people actually know what to do, and it stops people from making accounts and just hopping in and cheating.
What would stop somebody from macro AFKing in Crucible and just standing there and just jumping?
It's not time efficient. Right now, they can just churn out win after win after win. You know, if they can carry in a complete trials card for, you know, $50 every hour and a half, look at the time frame of which they're making money on it now. They're better off moving to a different game where they can cheat and make money.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
What if it was just like reset your Valor once before you can gain glory?
It's another option. I mean, I think anything that they can do to make it where you, like, hi guys, you need to commit time and not just create cheating accounts that you can sell. You're absolutely right. I see that all the time. They're like, hey, $400. Here's a fresh Destiny account. It's got these guns on it. Like, you can buy this and start playing Destiny with with these guns already gotten for you. I think it's hard. They can make it harder to for cheaters, and I still think
they have to.
An anti-cheat system is just a better situation to put that in.
I think we're going to see this since they brought back trials and moved to Steam. That was the real big launch of cheating in Destiny.
Yeah.
And we've only seen the cheats get more complex. Everyone concede that as being true. And you know what we haven't had since those big cheats have been put in? A raid launch. What are we going to do when Deepstone Crypt launches and you have 6 people who are unkillable with infinite heavy ammo racing for world's first who aren't streaming?
Technically, we had that. You had that one group of assets in a Discord hitting Goth offline.
Yeah, but I mean, so network manipulation is always going to exist no matter what.
Right.
Technically, the move to Steam servers, master IP, so that shouldn't happen anymore.
It's better.
But if someone can go in now with instant self-res, unkillability, they can learn the mechanics in 10 seconds flat in every encounter with no risk of having to restart and go through.
You're right. I would say that maybe for something like that, instead of they don't even need an anti-cheat for that. Just make you raid ineligible until you have a certain amount of time spent in the game. Make it something where you need to actually have time spent playing Destiny or a certain amount of activities, and make it something reasonable for newer players to want to jump in, level up with friends over the summer, and get in for a world's first raid.
Isn't that technically what the power cap is, though? Or
yes, but there's nothing stopping someone who
when
installing something on an already made account and hoping.
When you're instanced into a raid, there's really nothing to prevent you from trying to get past that. Like I said, unless they develop like a meaningful anti-cheat, which raises a lot of other questions. That kind of brings us back to the whole Valorant thing, anti-cheat and stuff like that. It's good to hear that they're working on one, and they're working on their own, because I think Destiny is different enough that it would require its own. I think slapping one from another PvP game on there is not enough, like you're saying for the world's first. Yeah, I think too. I see in the chat they're talking about requiring world's first to require video footage to be submitted for true world's first.
Right.
I think that's good.
Doesn't Bungie go in and verify?
They
So
do.
they'll look at stats.
Yeah.
Like if someone dies 1,000 times and yet they have the fastest raid clear,
They're gonna be.
that's an obvious sign that something wasn't right.
Yeah.
But there's nothing stopping. There's gonna be people who find ways around it. Like if it's not for world's first, then it'll be for the 24-hour emblem, and you'll see people, selling
Selling
clears
that.
for that.
Yeah.
Like the Destiny money-making economy is making so much money on the dark
Yep.
side of things.
It does.
It
definitely does.
It's done that. In
I was
WoW
reading an
forever as
article
well.
that the undetectable aimbot that you can toggle on and off right now
Mhm.
with the monthly updates is $150 a month.
That's
And so
crazy.
those people are they're breaking in the money from the software itself, and then those people are incentivized to go do the recovs to make their money back.
Yepper.
Oh, back when I worked on WoW Esports, there were actual sponsors of teams that were Blazing Boost, for example, literally was sponsoring esports teams to the point where they were told, "Hey, you just can't have that logo on if that's your sponsor, we're not letting you in this tournament because it's selling something that's against our TOS."
Right.
And it should be
be.
is boosting and recov against Bungie TOS though?
I think in some degree of it is using an outside system to get rewards or something in game. I believe there is, because technically, I mean, you could also farm out Bright Dust that way, right? Which is buying the cosmetics and kind of circumventing money that they would otherwise gotten. So I believe somewhere in the TOS it's there. We should check it. And maybe follow up with it.
We need a Destiny lawyer.
Yeah. The Court of Oryx.
Pum pum. Executive producer Dick Wolf.
But yeah, I mean, that brings up a lot of really valid points. Is that yes, we do need some verification, and I know that Bungie at least looks at the world's first and makes sure that it's legit.
Oh, to finish my point about Blazing Boost, I am starting to see that on Destiny content creator videos, and it bothers the shit out of me because
Blazing Boost,
yeah,
or just some other thing.
No, just specifically the company Blazing Boost.
Yes, they now roll ads in front of some of the big Destiny community,
and they sponsor some of those videos. If you're taking money from Blazing Boost, I have zero respect for you. I'm just gonna call that out right now because it is actively harming the scene, and it has across multiple games.
For sure. Yeah, and there's probably a lot of people that are just hey, it's an ad, that's awesome. But it's definitely important to kind of get into it and realize what you're supporting and what you're representing to your community as well. So yeah, I'm anything that, I mean, you guys know me, anything that's slightly suspect, I'm cheating. That's snipe the suspect.
Also, we would ban pros. It's not me. I never did it. It was Blizzard would ban pros that were caught boosting other people's accounts.
Yeah, as they should, because that defeats the purpose. I mean, you can look. There's always two ways of looking at things, right? You're oh, it's just a game. Who cares? But the ultimate thing, the other side to that coin, is that yes, it's just a game, and when people are spending a lot of time in games, you're not playing. You're not entering infinite ammo cheats into Grand Theft Auto 4.
Right.
You're playing by yourself. You're affecting other people's time.
There's a literal economy behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, thank you, Perfect 8.
Perfect Octave, that's a cackler.
Octave, that is a cackler.
Thanks for the follow, dude.
Where do we draw the line between? So I know there's some Destiny 2 content creators that will recov onto people's accounts to get access to weapons that they haven't earned on their account. Say someone got a really good roll and they really want to make a video about it. They'll recov on and they'll play a quick play match just showcasing that weapon because they haven't had the luck for it to drop for them. I think there's a line to draw between something like that and then recovering to go into the competitive environment. there should, as you know, when you log into Destiny for the first time and you agree to the terms of service, there should be another user agreement that comes up whenever you enter comp that says, if your account is caught not being run by you, and they can track that by hardware and location. Like, if I'm like one day here on the East Coast and then in another hour I'm in a different country.
I honestly, I don't care if I don't see like content videos like of a god roll.
Yeah, I would.
We know what the perks do.
I would almost rather that person just get in touch with them and be like, "Hey, can you just grab some kills with this gun? I want to talk about it for my channel." Same way any of us would. But I definitely understand your point, Moose. I think it's also hard. It's a hard problem, and I think that's why we probably haven't seen anything like that directly. Is just like, hey, yeah, here's why we fixed that, because it's hard to actually validate like what the thing is, like what's going on. How do we go? Oh, yeah, you popped in another time zone, but you were streaming, so you were on a VPN, so you didn't want to get bumped offline, so you used some software to keep yourself like secure and different stuff like that. So.
Oh yeah, authenticate it with the Bungie app.
I was gonna say like Bungie could just do like a 2FA system that you need the authenticator for, or make a limited amount of logins or attempts or different things like that. Like there's some stuff that they can do, and I think it's gonna be all of those features are things that would take a while. And you know what? I think maybe at this time it's been a year since Bungie went independent of Activision. We've now seen that there's going to be 3 years of dedicated content coming out for Destiny. Maybe now that they know that they've announced, hey, we're settling in, we're here for a while, because it was always kind of up in the air. Like, is it going to be Destiny 3? Are they going to drop it? Is it going to do this? Like, what's going to go on? Like Activision, this, that, and the other thing. Like, now that like there's some gravity to Destiny, where it's going to be living, what it's going to be doing, and what we're going to be playing. Maybe now is the time that we start to see more of these things kind of taking place. And Bungie, if you're listening, and they are, please tell us as soon as you can, to give us some of that good energy to feel, because I think a lot of the community would like to know, just as impactful as announcing those 3 years of content all in that one amazing video. Announce to us like your other plans, because it's going to just make things more exciting and have more to look forward to, and feel, when you're dropping $20 to get some ornaments, you're going to feel better about doing that, honestly. And I know I'm not alone in thinking that way.
So I just browsed the Bungie Destiny TOS.
Okay.
The agreement that they're not enforcing is the same agreement that they've been selectively enforcing against like people on Etsy and such like that.
Okay.
The agreement states that you're not allowed to make money basically off of their IP.
Right.
And it has 2 sections based on like physical goods and their trademark, and virtual goods. And a paid carry is a virtual good.
100%.
Yeah, it is. I absolutely agree with that.
So, someone recovering just to like help their friend out, as long as money's not being exchanged, that's not against TOS.
Okay.
So, I guess the question is, should it be? Should they amend that?
I think if they enforced TOS as is, if we saw an actual change to paid recovs, like in, these sites being sued for, their cheats. Like, we've seen Blizzard do that. Like, Blizzard fucking brings the hammer down on Chinese, like, hack sites for WoW and Overwatch all the time. If we saw a reaction that, struck fear in the hearts of recovs and cheaters, then, like, I think that it could stand on its own.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't need, like,
I agree.
Then you could have your content creator logging in on someone else's account. But if we ever had to choose between, like, review my spare rations with the god roll versus, like, unplayable trials, like.
Yeah, I would rather have nothing.
Absolutely.
If it's between all or nothing, I'd rather have nothing.
100%.
Because
that's an easy one, I think.
Going into comp past, it really, really starts to kick around 4,000. Because that's where you can only progress from win streaks.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're looking at like every other match roundabout, having someone who never misses a headshot ever, no matter the situation, then you just have to, and then you inspect them and they're using all blues, and you know that this is a recovery service, and a lot of the recovery services aren't on the up and up. There's a reason they can churn through all these people.
Absolutely.
You don't know when you pay the $200-$300 to get your Not Forgotten, whether someone's legitimately playing on your account, or if they're just logging in, installing some hacks, getting the job done, and taking your money.
Yeah.
You're risking everything by doing those services.
100%.
No, absolutely.
I think we should move on to the end of our show here, guys. It is 8:30 p.m., which means that it's time for Clan Affairs. Member of the week this week, it is Peter Wong for a third time. Just kidding.
Again.
It's actually Queen Bartley, aka Assault Queen, for helping us get our social.
Back.
She did? Hell yeah! No longer the censored queen. Long live the queen.
Potato Queen.
She got her name back?
Yeah, she texted us earlier. She said that it came back. I guess they.
I need
freed
to
it up.
check mine.
You should do it.
So thank you for helping us get our socials in order, and you're gonna see a lot more content, a lot more growth here on the Caffeinds channel, thanks to her and her help. Also, thank you for finishing my hat. I cannot wait to wear it. If I ever shave my head again, which who knows when that's gonna be, it will keep my head.
It's a high
nice and
probability.
warm.
Who knows?
It's a high probability.
A good chance.
Might be. So coming up on the client stream Saturdays with Will and also Sean. I am your morning streamer, 10 a.m. every Saturday morning. Sean in the evenings. Sunday Funday should be back this week. I actually haven't talked to Peter or Jared about that, so we'll find out. Awesome. Do we know what? Hell yeah,
Playing
Fall
Fall
Guys
Guys.
stream this Sunday. That's 7 p.m. Eastern.
7 Eastern on
Yeah.
Sunday.
Cool. Monday
party
comp with
game.
Lucas returns this week. Lucas is back from vacation.
He back.
Tuesday
I
reset.
think he is. If not, I'll sub in again on Monday.
We'll see.
I don't want to quote it because I think he might actually still be there. But anyway,
Hell yeah. Tuesday resets with Perk as always.
Also, my birthday.
yes. Happy birthday.
We
Early birthday.
thusly declare it Moose Day, followed by Wednesday Mooseable with the one, the only. ItsSpaceMoose. I do want to sort of announce an announcement. We are actually going to be opening up our clan Discord and our clan for the community. You guys to be joining us. We'll let you know when that's available. So keep an eye out for this on this space, because we want to play with you. We want to run raids with you. We want to play trials with you guys, and we want to help out those that need it. So maybe when the next raid jacket drops, we might do some runs with that once we get our core team through. As always, this channel is now a Twitch affiliate. If you have Twitch Prime, we would absolutely love it if you could hit the subscribe button. It helps us create the content that you guys are enjoying right now, and also expand our content library. We're going to have a lot of fun stuff coming up. But I think that said, that is it for our show. Any last thoughts, Moose?
Please don't use mayo, sour cream cheese, or ranch dressing in any application.
Perk?
Ranch is great on pizza.
No.
Incorrect. Anyway, thank you guys. The show has been brought to you by the upcoming Tower Buster film, Joseph Hunter. They took his dog, but he's taken their hives. We're going to kick it over to another channel, but for the sake of the podcast, we're ending right here, right now. Clap. That's it. Cut.